Today, the team at Schools Compared is delighted to be visiting Zara Harrington, the much-loved principal of Safa British School in Dubai. Safa British School has recently moved into some of the most beautiful, purpose-built and designed school buildings and landscape grounds in the region, all right in the heart of Jumeirah. This makes it a perfect day to ask Zara's help to advise parents new to the region seeking to move their children to a new school about things in education that are important and may really help guide their decision. Good morning, Zara.
Morning everyone, and good morning everyone at Schools Compared.
Okay, so the first of 7 questions to get to the heart of the matter. Some of these are quite difficult, but we know if anyone can get to the heart of the matter, you can, Zara. So here goes. So question 1. With all the many years of experience you have in education, if you were choosing a school for your child today, with a view to their staying in a school throughout their education, what top 3 questions would you ask school principals of your shortlist schools, and what answers would you be looking for and not looking for?
Oh gosh, and I think I get asked this every week anyway during the school tours. I think my first question, or what would be for me as a parent, would be staff turnover. That's quite important for me. That tells me the health check of the school. It tells me where the school is in its journey. It tells me the impact of the leadership. It will tell me the impact of how happy the teacher is. And I don't mean happy as in am I happy to do my job? There's more to it than that. So that would be one of my number one. I'd be looking for a percentage that's pretty much low, the lowest that I feel it should be. Sometimes there might be a factor that impacted that, and I would have a look, and in my research I had a look at that. So that would be my first one. My second one for the all through would be the different opportunities at the different stages. So what do they have in foundation stage? What do they build upon in the primary school? And then going through to the secondary school in Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. So I'd sort of look at those different opportunities, but not just academic opportunities. If I'm thinking of my own child, she's quite creative. So what can they build upon that she's already learnt in the primary school that would develop her into a BTEC pathway or something like that? So that would be the second one. And the last one, for me, it's all about how it feels. And I know that's a really, really hard thing to judge, but does everyone look like they like being in that building? So does everyone, if you're walking by a classroom, is someone going to give you a little wave? Is someone going to say hello? Are the children going to be falling over themselves to be speaking to the person that may be giving me a tour? Because that tells me that they are a community, and that's what I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for a community that I can join as a parent, that I would enjoy going each stage with my daughter.
I agree, Zara. That's so interesting. So let's look in my second question at an issue that divides parents and schools. The age-old debate today is raging even in today's newspapers over whether homework is actually important. Many parents believe that homework takes time away from children of any age to explore life outside of school and be with family. Others are equally strident that a school that does not give homework is failing their children. Can you talk me through arguments on both sides of homework debate and then give your view of the right answer?
Oh, that is such a personal preference. I know as a family, we like to do the basic of what it is and then a project together, and that's kind of where I want it to stop as a parent. As an educator, I can really see both sides. It's an important time if there's some revision to be had or some extra lessons or boosters, just so they remember. It's more so a trigger of memory. So what can they learn that's allowed that memory to sort of recap? And then on the other side of it, nothing replaces family time. And I think this last 18 months in schooling has showed us that family connections and human connections are the most important. And building that up again is really important as a family. Many of our families have had mum or dad, or both mum and dad, have travelled most of their childhood. So that reconnection has been really important. For me, I absolutely think that should be non-negotiable is reading. Now that it could be seen as homework, it could be seen as a life skill, it could be seen as something that connects a family. So for me, that is the real basic that should be done. Everything else on top of that, as a parent, I would say, look at what your child needs, because every child is an individual and no children need the same diet. You could have 2 siblings in a family one could need to practice everything twice, the other one could do it quite effortlessly. And I would say, as a parent, look at your children and see what they need and do something that fits with your family and make it fun and make it practical. You know, the maths doesn't have to be sat at the kitchen table and working for 30 minutes non-stop. It could be around the supermarket, and that could go right through, even for the older students, you know, when they're in Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4, that bit of practice but applying it really helps them. So for me, I'm a family, or we are a family, that do the basics, and a nice little crafty project really gets us going, especially if we can tempt Daddy into painting something or making something.
That ties perfectly into the third question. Zara, do you think that schools are better today than 20 or 30 years ago? You don't look that old to even have an opinion on that there. What are the biggest positive changes that have happened, and why have they been made?
Well, I've got very good genes, which is why my granny always used to say, use oil of Ulay every day and you shall age really well. So that's why I look how I do, and yet my age tells you something different. Now, are they better? They are just so different, is what I would say. I don't think you can actually compare them to see if they're better, because we have evolved as humans, as a race. And I think that allows us to be more in tune with what is going on. So what you'd research in a textbook, they can go and experience in real life. And there is no barriers into exploring the world, well, apart from the coronavirus, of course, and lots of red list countries. But if coronavirus wasn't here, there is no barriers. So therefore, rather than, you know, talk about or research the pyramids, the children these days can go and visit them, and therefore things are more brought to life. So is it better? I think it's more practical, and I think for me there's far more enjoyment of that, and people are going into education because they really like children, and that's where the children will learn. So yes, of course it's better, and it's also very different.
I think that is right. Schools are better, of course. All of us learn to improve. It's part of life's journey. So my next question, can you take me through an extraordinary, impactful challenge, event or experience in your career, or something impactful that happened when you yourself were at school that taught you something so important in education that it has now become part of the foundation of your approach to educating children in the school, something so important to you that you will never compromise on?
I think it's been a couple of things, really. The most vivid memory that sticks out for me is primary school. We'd gone on a school trip, and at the time the doctor's surgeries in the UK, they had brass plaques outside of the doctor's name, and after the doctor's name there'd be sort of several letters and very important things, and I was tracing my finger over the letters after the name, and I didn't know what they were at all, and the teacher said to me, I wouldn't even bother doing that, Zara, you're never going to have those letters after your name. And that lit some kind of fire. I can't tell you what it did, but it lit some kind of fire that meant that no one's ever going to tell me I can't do something, and therefore no one does. So everything that I approach and do is always with absolutely the biggest sort of gung-ho that I can give it, and about reflecting and learning. So that small little thing of someone saying you're never going to have that means that I absolutely will, and I absolutely will do it, and I absolutely will do it the best it can be. And so what that means is my leadership, though I'm not really sure I have any type of style, my leadership is always about going beyond what is asked of you. And so in my school, very effortlessly, because of the culture created, the staff, the leadership, and every person will go above and beyond every single time, because that's the culture that's expected and that's the culture that's set. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was anything in particular, but all of those elements drive you to be, the best is the wrong terminology. I think they drive you to give the best. So therefore the students, the parents, anyone that comes into Safa British School feels it, and it's about a feeling that you can't actually describe, other than it gives you a lot in return. So yes, that's me.
And last three questions. The next question gets to the heart of expectations from parents. Do you think that a good school can ensure that every single child meets their potential and leaves school with their dreams and opinions for achieving them intact?
I think that if a parent goes to a school that they have chosen for their individual child, then that absolutely is the case. I think that when you see at the moment, especially here in Dubai, there'll be parents going, tell me about this school, or tell me about this school, or give your opinion on this. And I think it's when they listen to others and they don't look at what their own individual child needs, that's when it doesn't always match up. So any school will meet that potential for that child and open those pathways when the school is chosen correctly by the parent for their individual child. And we all know as parents, you know, we have polar opposite children. You know, one child would need one thing, another child would need another. And it's about making sure that it's right for your child. And when you involve yourself in the school, and we always say here that it needs a complete triangle in order to work. So that parent must be involved. Not a case of enrolling the child, paying the fees and everything else is going to happen. It's about being involved in that child's journey. And when that happens, and that's a really solid triangle between this child, the school and the home, that's when success is, and they absolutely will fulfill. The children will fulfill their own potential, but yet the parents will also do that as well.
My penultimate question is about children and students at key points in their life at school. Here goes. Which single piece of advice, if you could give one, would you give first a child joining your school and second a child graduating from your school to university or industry? Both things that you wish that you had known when joining and then graduating from your school.
I think my piece of advice would be the same, both entry and exit from the school. And that is, and which is what I say all the time, every day, and I'm like a broken record, listen to each other, to everybody around you, and always take the chances that you've got. So whether it's joining a sports team, whether it is doing a debate, whether it's putting yourself in for the Safa's Got Talent, whatever it is, go for it with every piece and fibre that you have, and then listen and reflect to others around you. And that would be the same joining at age 3 or leaving at age 18, because I think that when you listen and reflect and you make the most of every opportunity, that's when you're going to be successful.
That's really thoughtful answers. So finally, Zara, my last question is probably the most important. Can you explain the top 3 things you do at Safa British School that ensures that children are both happy and inspired?
Oh, top 3 things. That's a really difficult one, because I think that our culture sets what we expect our students to be, and a lot of effort goes into creating the right balance here. We work particularly hard as a leadership team to balance up workload and communications and all of those really important nitty-gritty things to allow the teachers to flourish. When the teachers flourish, the children flourish, and the parents are just so happy. So I think from that, I think it's definitely set your culture, and we work particularly hard on ours. The other one, and I think it's a little bit cliched, but we put it into practice more so here at Safa British, is about being thoughtful, being kind, and right from the moment the children enter through the gate, so whether they're 3 or whether they're 13 and they're walking through the front gate in the mornings, they're greeted with, you know, hello. We say their name. We know about them. We know about them as individuals, and that's what sets us apart. That's what the parents really enjoy as well, and therefore when we have a theme day, you know, things like when we had our sleep awareness day a couple of weeks ago, parents were rocking up ready in an outfit. I'm really hoping they didn't go to the office in their said outfits, but they're so invested in the community because they feel like it's appreciated, because the people set the tone. So again, going back to the culture. And the third thing is, what do I say the third thing is? There could be so many. I think it's about never, ever, ever doing something the same as someone else. If we can do it differently here, we absolutely will. If there's a different way of approaching something, we're going to be the first ones to try it. but we don't shout about it. And I think that's what makes us very special, is we're not the first school to shout about something. It won't be on our social media. We'll quietly scroll away, we'll quietly work at something, and then we'll let people come in and feel it and see it for themselves, and that's when we know we've done something right. So I think it all stems from the culture of our school, and then everything else comes from that.
Thank you, Zara, for today and for sharing so much about your beautiful school and approach to education. Your school is amazing, Zara. It always such a treat to come and visit you.
Oh, thank you. Really, really appreciate you visiting today.